Mic test. Oo nga. けど本当は君に会いたくてこの空がまだ眩しいうちに二人で遠くへ出かけよう移り変わる天気のようにいろんなことがあるけど今は君と一緒ならもっと楽しくなれ acontecer, é melhor do que morrer. Um assalto não, 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 não pode te sacrificar. O pior é um coração.
test. Mic test. 1, 2. Mic test. 1, 2, 3. Mic test. 1, 2. Mic test. 1, 2. Mic test. 1, 2, 3. Mic test. 1, 2.
times and the bad will share forevermore. Somehow you've changed and just didn't make it through. But I believe that one day you'll have to know that I'm still in love with you. At times we couldn't understand each other, and though we tried, we couldn't keep from falling. Somehow, somewhere, our love had lost its way, and now I feel it's over. It's hard to say, but I love you just the same. Oh, it's been so long since I've had you by my side. I don't even know what to say or do. I've tried so hard to get you off my mind, but I love you still. Try to understand when I'm all alone.
Huwag pigilan ang sayaw, tumayo ka't igalaw ang buo mong katawan, ako ay sabayan. Bigay mo na sa akin, bigay mo na sa akin, bigay mo na sa akin ang init ng iyong labi kahit sandali. Pagtikit mo sa akin, kay sarap mong langhapin. Ang buo kong katawan, di mapigilan. Bigay mo na sa akin, bigay mo na sa akin, bigay mo na sa akin, yakap mo na kay higpit kahit na saglit. La 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 ta ta 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 la Huwag isipin ang iba, tayo lamang dalawa. Ang buong kaluluwa, isugal mo na. Bigay mo na sa akin, bigay mo na sa akin, bigay mo na sa akin ang tamis ng iyong ganda pangsamantala. Bigay mo na sa akin, bigay mo na sa akin, bigay mo na sa akin ang buong buhay mo sa isang gabi.
Mic test 1 2. Mic test 1 2 3.
Now start our preliminaries.
Duterte time leader. Duterte time. Hindi, time leader. Hindi, time.
Welcome to Benchmarks, Breakthroughs, and Missteps, a Kapihan sa ASOG session on the fifth State of the Nation address of President Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. For those joining us virtually, thank you for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. Before we begin, may we request everyone joining us via Zoom to kindly rename your display name using the format institution or school dash preferred name. This format will help us properly acknowledge participants throughout the discussion. We also encourage our online participants to make full use of the Zoom chat throughout today's session. You may post your questions, reflections, and comments as our speakers present. The moderator will be monitoring the chat and selected questions will be raised during the open forum. We will begin shortly. We also request our guests on site to take their seats so that we may begin in a few minutes. Good afternoon once again. Let us all please rise for our opening prayer in commemoration of the feast of Saint Ignatius of Loyola tomorrow. The prayer for generosity. Dearest Lord, teach me to be generous. Teach me to serve you as you deserve, to give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heed the wounds, to toil and not to seek for rest, to labor and not to ask for reward, save that of knowing that I'm doing your will. Amen. You may take your seats. Thank you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. On behalf of the Ateneo School of Government, welcome to Benchmarks, Breakthroughs, and Missteps, a Kapihan sa ASOG session on the fifth State of the Nation address of President Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. My name is Pamela Padilla-Salvan, the Academic Program Director of the Ateneo School of Government, and I am pleased to serve as your moderator and host for this afternoon. Today's session forms part of the ASOG's 25th anniversary initiatives under the theme Transformative Governance, Shaping the Future of Public Leadership. We shall be taking a closer look at the fifth State of the Nation address of President Marcos. The annual SONA provides an opportunity not only to take stock of government priorities and accomplishments, but also to ask important questions about governance, institutions, and public accountability. True to the spirit of a Kapihan, this afternoon's conversation is intended to be open, collegial, evidence-informed, and non-partisan. Whether you are joining us here at Pacifico Ortiz Hall or online through Zoom, we invite you to actively participate in the discussion. We encourage everyone, especially our online participants, to continue sharing your questions and insights through the Zoom chat throughout the program. These will be incorporated into our open forum later this afternoon. We would like to recognize our friends from the media who are joining us via Zoom. To formally welcome us and set the context for this kapihan, may we call on the Dean of the Ateneo School of Government, Dr. Jennifer S. Oreta.
Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat, mabuhay. On behalf of the Ateneo School of Government, it is my pleasure to welcome everyone today in Kapihan sa ASOG. This assembly holds deep significance as we breathe new life into a cherished tradition that remains a cornerstone of our school's identity. As we celebrate ASOG at 25, we are not only looking back at what we have accomplished, we are also asking ourselves what kind of institution we are called to be in the years ahead. We envision ASOG as a community where difficult conversations are not avoided but embraced, where ideas are tested through evidence and reasoned debate, and where differences in perspectives are viewed as opportunities for deeper understanding, better public policy, and wiser governance. Today's discussion comes at an important moment. The President's fifth SONA, or State of the Nation address, invites us to ask difficult but necessary questions. What have we made? What have we made meaningful progress? What reforms are beginning to take root? Where have we fallen short? And perhaps more importantly, what must still be done? These, at the core, are questions of governance. They challenge us to examine whether our public institutions are becoming more responsive, whether government programs and policies are improving the lives of the people, whether reforms are strengthened or strengthening institutions rather than personalities, and whether integrity, accountability, and ethical leadership are becoming the norm in public service. Ultimately, the question is simple. Is government earning and deserving the trust of our people? This afternoon, we are privileged to hear from distinguished members of the Ateneo School of Government, faculty, and professors of Praxis. They bring decades of experience in governance, public policy, health, and security. We are honored to have them today as our lead discussants. We also apologize for the lack of gender and age balance, but be assured that they are, while male and boomers, are thoughtful allies and steadfast advocates of inclusion, equity, and gender-sensitive governance. In other words, they are woke boomers. The foundational mission of ASOG, centered on forming leaders, leading reforms, and transforming governance, is an ongoing journey of discernment, dialogue, and collective action. Guided by the Ignatian tradition, we seek to advance the common good, uphold the dignity of every person, and stand in solidarity with the poor, the vulnerable, and the marginalized. Our pursuit of Magis calls us not simply to do more, but to do better for others and always for the greater glory of God. We hope that the Kapihan in ASOG once again becomes a space where scholarship meets practice, where assumptions are questioned, where ideas are sharpened through respectful dialogue, and where we collectively imagine and work toward a more just, effective, and compassionate system of governance. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Dean Oreta, for setting the context for today's conversation and reminding us of the important role of universities in fostering open, thoughtful, respectful, and evidence-based public discourse. For the next part of our program, as Dean had mentioned, we are honored to have our three distinguished speakers who will lead us through a critical examination of the SONA, answering the following questions. Are the achievements enumerated by the President noteworthy? Versus democracy, particularly focusing on improving political governance, security governance, and health governance. What was missing or left out in the report, which in their view are critical? Do they agree with the focus of the administration? And lastly, What can we expect in the remaining 23 months of this administration? We begin with the lens of political governance, the foundation upon which public institutions earn legitimacy and public trust. The fifth SONA placed strong emphasis on accountability, anti-corruption, and institutional reform. It challenged both the government and the public to consider whether commitments to good governance are being translated into meaningful action. This afternoon, our first speaker will help us examine these claims against the broader realities of democratic governance, public institutions, and political reform. He is a distinguished public servant and one of the country's foremost champions of public financial management and governance reform. He has served in various capacities at both the local and national levels. He served as the representative of Batanes from 1987 to 1989 and from 1995 to 2004. He also held many cabinet-level ranks in the past, particularly as the Secretary of the Department of Agrarian Reform, under President Corazon Aquino, and then as Secretary of the Department of Education under President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, and as Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management during the Aquino administration, where he played a pivotal role in advancing transparency, fiscal responsibility, and citizen participation in government. Everyone, please welcome Secretary Florencio Butch Abad.
Thank you. The Dean has asked me to speak about political governance, how the SONA speech influences that or enhances that. Perhaps just a brief definition of what we mean by political governance. It's actually the exercise of administrative authority, the president being the head of the executive department, and political power, the president being the highest elected official of the country, to address the needs of the countries for development and also to confront problems facing it. Now, at the heart of political governance, right, at the very foundation of political governance, is the element of trust, and trust has two dimensions. One is the element of integrity, where your actions match what you say, and institutional capacity, the ability to get things done in the country. And on this basis, I think the president faces a lot of challenges. In fact, he proceeded with the SONA with the backdrop of very recent surveys that show nauna yata ako sa okay, proceed. Okay, next. Okay. There. Okay, well, as I said, trust is important because it secures voluntary compliance, reduces transaction costs, enables critical reforms, boosts economic stability, and strengthens social cohesion. But if you look at the recent surveys, there are two things that the people wanted to hear the president address. The first one is the issue of the corruption, the anti-corruption drive of this administration. This is rather unusual because normally in the past surveys, usually the first three priorities are actually occupied by what Dr. Shell Habito calls the pitik concerns: presyo, trabaho, at kita. But in this instance, you will see that the anti-corruption drive generated 29% responses from, which is very high compared to the other three. In fact, in the more recent Okta research, it says there that corruption since 2021 has now become number one in the concerns of the Filipinos. So I think this has a lot to do with what happened to, the budget controversies as exemplified by the flood control corruption. So ang ano niyan, ang epekto niyan sa taong bayan. And so everybody was hoping and expecting the president to address this issue. The rest of the item have to do with the state of the economy, because of the recent disruption of supply. We are a net importer of food and fuel, and the war in Iran has disrupted supply and resulted in the increase in prices of these particular items that impact on everyday life, particularly electricity, transportation, and of course your food. And I think coming into the State of the Nation address, the president was not coming from a strong position. If you look at the recent three surveys of three major survey companies, the trust ratings have all fallen from the recent previous surveys, and diminishing trust has increased significantly, so that in the case of the Social Weather Station survey, there is a net negative 11 trust rating. In the case of Pulse Asia, the fall was even higher at negative 23%. Then Okta from 54 to 49%. So if I'm sure the president had seen that survey, it's an indication to him that people, if the number one concern was the anti-corruption drive, it should be an indication to him that kailangan mo kwento itong nangyari dito, di ba? And at the same time, because the next three have something to do with the economy, you have to talk about what is the economic situation of the country. So how did the SONA proceed on those two counts? Well, okay. Well, everybody was surprised and pleasantly surprised that he started very strongly by confronting the issue of corruption, and even naming, although not name by name, but stating that, announcing that the former Speaker of the House was going to be indicted, and that charges will soon be filed against him, and that was welcomed by many people. Unfortunately, it stopped there, and the president did not return to the subject matter, and just simply proceeded to discuss a laundry list of what things that have been done and things that he planned to do. Now, as I said, if you go by the surveys, this is the biggest corruption controversy that ever hit this country. And to this day, I think people want to know what really happened. Sige. it by stopping at by talking about it rather briefly, the address left unanswered the very questions that citizens are most likely asking regarding this issue. What really happened? Ano ba nangyari? Hindi lang pala flood control yan. Hindi lang pala 2025. Mahaba pala, simula pa pala noong 2023 yan. Bakit, why did institutional safeguards fail? Who will be held accountable other than Speaker Romualdez? Because the ombudsman once mentioned that there are 67 contractors. So there's no congressman so far indicted. What about the money? How much money was really stolen and where did it go? People were surprised, for example, that one undersecretary was willing, DPWH secretary was willing to return 1 billion pesos. And this is an undersecretary. How much more the masterminds of this thing? You know? Maraming tanong na ganyan eh. And what budget discipline and accountability reforms will be adopted to prevent the recurrence of this problem? Siguro, mahabang usapin yan eh. And I think people were surprised that the treatment in the SONA was so brief that did not allow him to discuss those issues. So I guess by presenting this long laundry list of measures adopted to ease the burden of people and plans for the future, perhaps the president had hoped that this will make up for the cursory treatment of the corruption problem, but I don't think that will be the case. Now, sige. Political governance determines whether citizens believe government possesses both the integrity and the competence to solve economic problems. Thus, corruption destroys integrity, fiscal weakness constrains competence, and declining trust undermines both. So, in the face of all of those achievements and promises, what is the capacity of government to pursue those after the SONA? Well, as a budget practitioner, one of the things that worry me about our situation is fiscal space has become increasingly constrained. You know, our debt is persistently outpacing our economic growth, 1.87 faster. Our debt to GDP is 65.2%, which is the highest since 2005. And the deficit is also rather high against their target of 3.6%. As a result, close to 50% of our revenues are eaten up by the need to service our debt. Yeah. And put that all together, and that is the reason why our credit rating agencies recently gave us a negative outlook rating, you know. And these constraints determine whether the promises announced in the SONA are fiscally sustainable or possible. Siguro kung pinaliwanag muna niya yan, baka hindi ganun ka, he might have just focused on things like, how do we then develop our capacity to generate revenues so that we can grow? And how do we minimize the need for borrowings, you know? Maraming, yung mga tanong na gustong masagot na hindi naman napag-usapan dahil hindi naman pinag-usapan yung katatayuan ng ekonomiya. Yeah, okay, the SONA can help, but of course, statements on the day itself, sometimes they help, but it's usually what happens months after the SONA has been made that people then make up their minds, you know. Okay. Now, yung tanong ni Dean is, so after the SONA, what happens now, you know? Effectively, sabi nila there are 2 more years of the president's term. But effectively, I think we only have about 11 months. Can you? Sige. 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 Yan. Why do I say we only have practically 11 months to deal with these problems that the president presented? Well, in October next year is going to be the filing of certificates of candidacy. And before that, usually parties and politicians have to meet to select their municipal, provincial, and national candidates, and for party caucuses and conventions to take place. That's a long time. And so that happens in July to August normally. So after October 2027 filing, the day after, unofficially, is the beginning of the campaign period. Wala ka na makakausap yan sa Congress. Baka wala na nga sa Congress yung mga yan eh. And then the start of the formal campaign period is in February. And March for the local elections. And then elections in May 2028. So, the practical window for major governance reforms is much shorter than the president's constitutional term because political attention will increasingly shift to first the impeachment trial. Yeah, that's the big story that we are preoccupied today. And then secondly, the run-up to the 2028 presidential elections. So, if you put all of those together and you ask yourself, how will the president be able to achieve all the nice programs, both in terms of time and both in terms of financing? Because as we're seeing, we have a serious fiscal problem to deal with. But at the same time, we are also going to face critical political events, the impeachment, the elections that will distract us that will distract the government from doing what it needs to do to be able to comply with all the plans, or to do all the plans that it enumerated in its SONA. Kaya my concern is if the people place a lot of importance on the problem of corruption and the state of the economy, and the concerns for the next 2 years will be mainly political, they don't seem to match. Iba yung politika, iba yung ekonomiya, iba yung corruption, anti-corruption drive. So, how will the president be able to concentrate on those two concerns and at the same time pay attention to those two political events? Especially, you're talking about, insofar as an outgoing president is concerned, a very existential issue politically. Anong gagawin ko? Anong gagawin ng pamilya ko after we are out of power? Hahabulin ba kami ng mga kalaban namin? Mananalo ba yung si Vice President Sara? Ano mangyayari sa amin? So, these things will take up a lot of his time, and the question is, will he have time for political governance? I have serious questions about that, and it's something that we should be discussing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sec Butch, for bringing those two realities to the fore as we move on with our conversation this afternoon. So governance ultimately finds its meaning in how it improves the lives of citizens, which includes, of course, their health and well-being. So our next perspective now focuses on health governance, which examines whether the priorities outlined in this year's SONA adequately respond to the country's continuing health challenges and the long-term strengthening of our health system. Beyond infrastructure and programs, the conversation also asks whether health remains central to the nation's development agenda. Our next speaker is a senior fellow of the Ateneo Policy Center, School of Government, and an adjunct faculty of the Asian Institute of Management. He served as Director General of the Food and Drugs Administration Philippines and later as an Undersecretary of the Philippine Department of Health. He was the founding executive director of the Zwelig Foundation. Previously taught at the Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology of the University of the Philippines College of Medicine. He trained in internal medicine and clinical toxicology at the Philippine General Hospital. He served also as the past president of the Philippine College of Physicians. Please welcome Dr. Kenneth Hartigan-Go.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Pleasant good afternoon to all of you. I'll begin by saying that all of us eventually are going to get sick. We are going to have healthcare problems as we get older, and health is going to be something that we are all going to be preoccupied with, right? And what I'd like to, the next slide, please. I'd like to predicate my presentation and analysis with a following caveat. No, I the perspective that a leader is actually leading our country, I look at him as like a juggler, juggling a lot of important agenda in the air. And there are trade-offs, important trade-offs, and health is in fact one of them. And he's walking on a tightrope, trying to entertain the people down there. And there are also people throwing rocks at him to see that he doesn't succeed. And President Ramos once told me that this is the picture that he has of himself, that if he falls down, there is no safety net to hold him. So we begin by saying that, no? But many of the things that the president said in the SONA seems to me alludes to people first or patients first. And I will give a few examples of that. Now, so the second one is the statements of the SONA is a combination of list of achievements which will predict trajectory of success, and also a list of aspirations which are promises that still needs to be actualized. That's the part that I think we will have a little bit more difficulty, and I will explain the capacity to implement. The third aspect to predicate all this is a caveat that says that I'm very happy that the health is given a little bit of space in the SONA compared to the previous SONA of the past, no? And I always believe that good health brings good politics. And therefore, I would like to bring in a number of examples. When people talk about health systems, health governance, their perspective is looking at hospital, medicine, access to the doctors, always about clinical, because this is something very dramatic and palpable. I'd like to bring your attention to some of the things that the president said. It was a laundry list of a lot of things he wanted done, no? But what I'm going to introduce here is a concept of social determinants of health. There is an aspect of health system that we take for granted. These are the things that the support system that helps the access to medicine, access to a doctor, getting enough nurses to give the services, and the hospitals running efficiently. On the other side of the coin is the social determinants of health. These social determinants of health were first coined by Sir Michael Marmot, basically saying the solutions to our health problem is not in medicine, drugs, or seeing a doctor. In fact, much of this effort is undertaken by good education, because with good education, people can think critically and make good choice, lifestyle choice, etc. Secondly, because of good education, they land on employment, they have jobs. And that jobs gives them the third aspect, which is economic freedom to make good choices for their health. It has dawned upon me that government should not always be seen as delivering health services, but they should create the ecosystem that will allow health, both public and private sector, to grow and develop and thrive. So what are the list of things the president say that were seemingly not related to health, but in fact answer social determinants of health? Number one, he talked about welfare program like for peace will be expanded, and that's good because the money given there is also the money that they will use to pay for healthcare. Exempting taxes from small industry will help this industry to employ people. Okay. Again, social determinants of health. In many ways, addressing food, economy, and income are part of these important social determinants of health. He mentioned uninterrupted energy supply and improvement on advances in mobile technology. To my mind, that's good because in far-flung areas where you don't have facilities and health worker, teleconsultation is possible. And then the use of the satellite telecommunication has implication as well in disaster management that promotes better public health. Uh, Apart from that, he spoke of improvements in transportation. People may not realize that you may have a hospital, but the roads and access, there are no convenient access to get to a facility. It doesn't make sense, right? So again, I see a resonance there. The removal of tariff on EV, electric vehicles, no, is actually a good thing, right? I'm not sure if it contributes much to traffic, but at least it has a green environment agenda, and that one decreases pollutants, uh, gases that affects the respiratory health of our people, and we are less dependent on fossil fuel. The issue of the flood control, the reforming of the flood control and channeling some of the funds for public health and safety and ecologic waste management that has been there for 25 years being reformed, no, modernized, is a good thing because that has an implication to health and safety. Uh, on the matter of food security, there are two items that I want to highlight. The first one is monitoring avian flu and also swine flu, ASF. No, both of these, if you don't know, is really part of a One Health strategy from agriculture to health. There is a connection, and that brings better food security and resolve malnutrition problem. The improvement, of course, with food agricultural production, no, brings food security. I was pleasantly surprised that there was a mention of child protection. I think it probably emanates from the series of violence that has emanated in certain areas where shooting and the like violence, and that there is some empirical evidence that it's tied up to exposure in harmful social media influence. And I think the government might be looking at how to curb access to social media, especially for young impressionable children, and therefore hopefully decrease this. No? But not only that, social media in part also, and he mentioned this in passing, we believe the social media in part has some effects on teenage pregnancy, okay, rise of HIV, and affects mental health. These are very existential problems of many years ago, but still very current up to now. No, malnutrition in school is being prioritized, but he did not say it's just a job of the government, but it's a joint responsibility in local government and many agencies, including private sector. I think there was a mention that we want to have advanced manufacturing in the area of pharmaceutical. I'm not too optimistic that that will happen, simply because we don't have the kind of scientists and technical people to develop the kind of medicines we need. For many years, there was an agenda for self-sufficiency and self-reliance, but we have never taken off beyond that. And partly while there are investments in health, the investment on the short term, the investment on the long term R&D, research and development, technological advances, we just we just don't have it. And that worries me because while the president did say we are now going to have a virology and vaccination center, it's rather complex to, I mean, the aspiration is good, but I don't think it's going to happen overnight. It will take a long year because we're not having the kind of scientists we need. the kind of infrastructure, the biosafety level type of laboratories that's needed. And the regulatory body needs to be at a high level of maturity in order to allow us to produce vaccine. Otherwise, the vaccine will just be for internal use. Unfortunately, well, no, sorry. There was a mention of PPP, working with private sector, and I think that might be a solution to fast track social return of investment, where government is not able to do it, let the private sector do it. But please remember that PPP also has a financial a business implication, no? And I think it's good, but we should not be overly reliant on that, in my opinion. So going back to the health, clinical health, no? So a while ago, it was the public health side of the social determinants that contributes to better health. Now let's talk about what he said that contributes directly to clinical health. You know that when one is sick, people may become poor overnight, and the finances will wipe out family finances, no? Now but the YAKAP program in the universal healthcare has been emphasized a few times in the speech of the SONA, and I think that's the right thing to do. The YAKAP has been there for a year. There are growth pains. There are things that are not fully actualized yet. There are, to our knowledge, there may be some areas where defrauding does happen. Okay, and lastly, the YAKAP is not uniformly applied. There are birth pains, as I want to say here, no. The medicines that to the gamot system is the right thing to do, no. You have a YAKAP where people access to health diagnosis. There's a laboratory service, and then the medicine. But from what we understand on the ground, and again, birth pains, not everybody does have easy access to the gamot. Some of the medicines that are said to be there aren't really there. And this is something more operational that needs to be addressed. The medicines that have been removed from VAT, there are certain medicines like cancer, hypertension, diabetes, medicines for chronic debilitating diseases. Those VAT has been removed. Essentially, in theory, the medicine price should go down. We have yet to see a study that shows that medicine prices actually went down because the VAT has been removed, no? Additional blood tests in the future, he says, will be for various illnesses, and that's good. Expanding PhilHealth coverage for other diseases is also good, no? Very prominent, he said, about HIV and tuberculosis. It looks like we have tuberculosis cases are still there, and our HIV cases are still on the high side, no, relative to other Asian countries where their numbers are, in fact, are going down. And I was pleased to hear that there was a mention of development pediatrics, therapy for, because children have this kind of special conditions that if you don't manage them early, it ends up as a very serious mental health problem. So, but the challenge that we see here is we don't have enough specialists doing developmental pediatrics. It's so specialized in the field, and to get an appointment, my understanding in the clinical field, it might take a year to access a doctor that will give you. And this is a thing that you need chronic, regular follow-ups, no? So in terms of human resource, kulang, we're not enough. So talking about human resources, you know that we don't have enough healthcare worker. World Health has forecasted that in 10 years' time, sometime 2035, the global requirement for human resource is going to be something like 10 million shortage, no, around the world. And the implication here is that countries will be knocking on the doors of the Philippines and asking for our compassionate, talented nurses and even doctors, partly because of the economic incentives that they receive if they go elsewhere. That's going to cause a strong dent on our human health security in the country. Be that as it may, the solution of the government seems to be very symptomatic as of the moment. As of the moment, by increasing scholarship for medicine, a student may avail of that scholarship but has to give back 3 years of return service. As a Doctors to the Barrio program is active in GIDA areas, which is good. But this is a sort of a stopgap temporary measure. There has to be a better way to create a more sustainable entry into the health sector, this precious human resource. Do we have enough doctors? Do we have enough nurses? Are they competent? Are they willing to serve in certain area, in certain field? We don't have an alignment between market needs and production. And this is something worth looking at, no? And it has to be the job of the Department of Health, no? Um, he also said that the 3 million people have benefited from the zero balance billing, and that's good because healthcare can be very expensive, but mostly they get this from Department of Health managed hospital wards. No? And I hope that this will continue and sustain because of the healthcare is quite expensive. What actually bothers a lot of people when I interview them is the concept of medical assistance program. Ideally, that should not exist anymore, even guarantee letters. He said that there should be no more guarantee letters, no? But you can't expect that to change overnight. It's a culture, it's a reality, it's there. But in principle, it shouldn't be there anymore because access to healthcare should be equitable and you get the healthcare that is needed. There should be no differential pricing where you need additional guarantee letter. And I think there's a need to rethink this. This I think is a very big misstep. Having access to medical assistance, ayuda seems good, but it's not good, sustainable in the long run. So I come to a close now by saying that we believe that all of these statements have good promises. And to achieve that means we need to strengthen our fundamentals. The fundamentals is strengthening the institutions that are delivering the health services, not just in Department of Health, no, or local government, but also in other sectors like environment, agriculture, food security, safety, and the like. We'd like to see in the future a robust health sector that is running on autopilot. They know what they're supposed to do without being told what you need to do. And that they can function in a very sustainable way, measuring outcomes, not just simple activities and project. So what we like to see is a public health institution that is responsive, that applies future thinking, and with a bit more focus on health outcomes. So I'd like to end here, and and stop and give you this analysis that we have seen. No? There's much to be done in the healthcare sector to sustain the gains we have for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc Ken. Thank you also for reminding us that all of us will get sick someday. If not today, someday. We do appreciate your reflections and inputs on the social determinants of health. And we appreciate that you highlighted that there needs to be accessible, equitable, and responsive public services, particularly in terms of the health sector. Okay, so now we move on to our last but not the least speaker for this afternoon. Our final presenter examines the SONA through the lens of security governance. The 2026 SONA reaffirmed the importance of national sovereignty, peace and order, and public safety amid an increasingly complex regional and domestic security environment. At the same time, it invites a broader conversation on how security institutions can remain effective while upholding democratic values and the rule of law. Our speaker is a professor of Praxis and senior research fellow at the Ateneo School of Government, where he leads initiatives on security governance, public management, and defense policy. A retired vice commander of the Philippine Navy, he served for over 3 decades, holding key command and staff positions, including commander of Naval Forces West with operational jurisdiction over the West Philippine Sea. He also chaired major initiatives on naval diplomacy, modernization, infrastructure development, and personnel management. So please welcome Rear Admiral Rommel Jude G. Ong.
Test one. So thank you. I'll stay seated kasi wala akong PowerPoint. So good afternoon, Dean Apple, Sec Butch, and Dr. Ken. So I was supposed to discuss about SONA from a security lens, but siguro let's take one step back and look at SONA for what it is, the SONA. So SONA is supposed to be the report card of the president in terms of quote-unquote accomplishment. And of course, it's also a venue for him to sort of articulate yung aspiration niya for the next 1 year of his term. But I think that is not the intent of the president with his SONA. Okay. I think that the president's SONA is meant to arrest whatever popularity or unpopularity remains out of him and survive the next 11 months. Okay. So the SONA is designed for the optics of it, I think, and to send a clear message that he's still a relevant political player or political actor in our society, in our government, and he still has a sort of an agency, and that he still has a say on what is our future, at least for the next 11 months. And I think if that is the benchmark of the president with respect to the SONA, I think he succeeded. Kasi yung ano, even for people who do not like him, medyo positive yung ano positive yung response o yung sentiment nila with respect to the SONA. So the SONA, if you lower the bar of your expectation, actually, you will end up being satisfied with yung articulation ng president. And I think that's a common sentiment na okay, well spoken, he was articulated well. And he hit all the high marks for what he said. So if the intent is purely for the optics of it, I think the SONA, as the president intended it to be for this term, succeeded. Okay. So that left yung question ni Dean Apollo, what are the missing gaps? Obviously, marami na. Kasi the SONA did not address any of them, of the missing. Kaya kung missing gaps din, marami talaga ito, yung ano niya. And I think yung mga inarticulate niyang issues, yung sa electric bill, health, etc. are, I think, those are yung yung low-hanging fruits in terms of issues na I think will satisfy the public. So major, I think he went populist on this SONA. Okay, he went populist on this SONA, and I think we can understand why. So at the end of the day, I think yung report card na hinihingi ng tao sa kanya are on two issues that are still pending: flood control tsaka yung impeachment. And doon, I think, will determine whether this remaining 11 months will be successful for him yung remaining 11 months. Yun yung iniintay ng tao. Okay. So, having said that, now let's look at yung from the security lens naman, yung mga different dimensions. On political stability and yung social stability, I think, the government has also already reported that kumbaga yung insurgency natin has been more or less resolved. Although there were 2 incidents, one in Mindoro and one in Negros, that sort of catapulted yung issue again from a national standpoint. Okay? I think insurgency, we could not say na tapos na or okay na siya unless we address the drivers. And the drivers are still existing. So there's still poverty, social injustice, corruption, the aka flood control. Okay, yung concentration of power through yung dynasties are still there. So those are drivers that tapos yung persistent yan yung gida. There are areas in the Philippines that by the nature of yung where they are, talagang prone siya to unrest because underserved siya underserved provinces or underserved regions. So what I'm saying is, while the armed component of the is resolved, there is always the possibility of a resurgence because the drivers are still existing. Okay, so this is not a security issue. This is a political issue or a governance issue na needs to be resolved. So at the end of the day, it will be our political leaders or our elected leaders that are actually the front and center of resolving this issue. Another one related is yung BARM. Okay. And I think sa ASOG, we've been focused on BARM as one of our key areas of interest and concern. And we've invested people and resources to actually study BARM and work with people at BARM. So ang concern ko this from a personal end is we do not want a resurgence of violence in BARM. But that is, ang premise niyan is they are able to solve some of the contentious political issues that arose from BARM. Complicated eh. And I don't think we can untangle it so easily because there are so many political actors at that level that have differences in terms of interest and as well as differences in position as to what is yung concept nila of a successful transition. Okay. So, ang atin ang inano lang natin dito from a security lens is there while we can work with political differences doon, we always hope that it will not escalate to a situation na we have a resurgence of yung acts of terrorism or acts of political violence. Yun yung those that thing that we try to contain. Some issues na hindi medyo sexy is cybersecurity. Okay? And I think this is more of a governance issue that needs to be resolved. I think ang nangyari sa atin, cybersecurity, private sector takes the cudgels for it and kinakapos yung government in terms of addressing cybersecurity problems. Merong issues on the ecosystem itself that sort of aggravates the problem. Number one is manpower. Kasi cybersecurity professionals are piratable by the private sector. So those working in government is either going to the local private sector or international private sector. So kaya hindi sustainable yung posture natin doon. Therefore, there are bureaucratic issues we don't have to expose here na sort of create stovepipes in this Another one would be something we are familiar with, disinformation or fake news. It has elevated itself from yung chismis ng kapitbahay mo to a sort of something that is if left unaddressed can create social discord o civil discord na yung mangyari Pilipino mag-aaway. Okay lang kung basketball sana yung issue pero yung local basketball but it's going to be a problematic later on as we move to 2028 yung magiging acute na yung problem na yan. And we've experienced this in 2022 and we've experienced this in 2025 during when we exercise our political right of suffrage. Okay. Last one would be yung sa West Philippine Sea o yung sa South China Sea. Okay. So this has been a focus of concern. In fact, ito yung huling pinalakpakan ng tao during the it's a good rallying point for the president kasi walang contentious issue about West Philippine Sea. Everybody is on board unless you are rooting for the other side which is medyo kaunti lang naman sila. Okay. So, but my concern here is number one, if you watch yung C-dramas o K-dramas, yung mga about yung mga empires. So the analogy ko rito is if the center is weak, the periphery will rise. So what I'm trying to say is in terms of leadership on this issue, kinakapos si Presidente. Okay? And maybe it's his leadership style, maybe because he's laid back, low-key. But nagmamanifest siya in terms of some of the parts of our bureaucracy at try to kumbaga mitigate yung yung leadership style niya by rising up but we end up with a bureaucracy that ends up fighting each other or working in cross purposes with this type of yung external security concern natin. And sometimes it's kumbaga nagle-level up sila, hindi naman kanila kasalanan But the net effect is because of that management style natin o governance style natin. And the net effect is nawawala ng direction minsan yung In fact, in my conversation with some foreign entity. Sabi, ang ano nila is, may strategy ba kayo? May strategy ba kayo on South China Sea? Hindi ko na sinagot. Okay. It's parang tayo-tayo na lang mag-usap. Yun na. Now, personally, the most contentious and most, yung what keeps you sleepless at night type of security problem for me is 2028. Okay, 2028. Oh yes, the 2028 election. Kasi it's now a nexus between the 2028 election is a nexus now of our geopolitical challenge from the north and our own domestic political divisions. So magpe-perfect storm yan eh sa 2020. And I think we need to prepare for that. Civil society, at least those I'm working with, is trying to prepare for that pero kulang eh. Kulang. Not because their fault, but because I think yung tao parang pagod. Parang pagod na. I've helped with yung rallies nung last year, November 30, tsaka yung February 25. Tapos I work with some, yung think tanks, looking at yung nag-survey sila eh. That the survey question is, what political activity did you participate in for the last 12 months? Okay, this was last year, no? Pero I think ano pa rin, relevant eh. So only 5% goes to rallies. Okay? 38% they just do something in social media. 12% will participate with in an NGO or CSO that are either you're affiliated with or they believe in. 12% will engage local officials or public officials. Okay. Around 50+% do not care. They siguro except for voting, no? Maybe even not eh. So only around 52% yata yun, did not do anything. So you can already sense yung parang indifference ng general public on anything about this. And that is, I think, with that percentage, we're moving forward to 2020, a perfect storm in 2028 na yung general public natin, walang pakialam. Okay, walang pakialam. So, I don't know what we need to do. Parang everybody is waiting dun sa ano, kung ano mangyayari. For whatever they're waiting for, I don't know. Okay, but nasa ano sila, nasa mode sila na wait and see and hope for the best. So,
Thank you, Admiral Ong. He certainly raised a lot of harsh realities that we have to contend with, whether it is people who are tired and waiting and seeing what is next. But we need to have communities like this to come together to think about what actions we need to do to raise our country to a higher level. And as we are talking today of benchmarks and breakthroughs, and of course, missteps. So now we move on to the next part of our program, which is our open forum. Let's move a little bit. Okay. Now that we have heard our speakers, thank you very much, sirs, for your perspectives on the SONA from a political governance, health governance, and security governance point of view. We shall now open the floor to questions, reflections, and dialogue. Just a few reminders. If you wish to ask a question, please raise your hand, whether virtually or physically here on site, and wait to be recognized. Once recognized, please introduce yourself and state your question. Please keep your questions concise and to the point. For our participants joining via Zoom, we continue to encourage you to post your questions and comments in the chat box. We have been monitoring the discussion throughout the program, and we will be integrating your questions into this conversation. So without further ado, let's begin. So, yes, sir.
Hello. Okay, so good afternoon po. A pleasant afternoon to everyone. My name is Eds from the Rizal Library. So I took the opportunity to attend this particular meeting because it's very mind-opening po yung topics, no? In particular. So my question is directly to Secretary Butch Abad, no? So finally I met you in person. Okay. Opo. So, Secretary Butch, so you've been a Secretary of Finance for some time, right? Okay, so budget for some time. And as you can see, during the State of the Nation address by President Marcos, he stated that there will be an expectation for some tax relief for ordinary Filipinos. No? So, in your own perspective, how soon can ordinary Filipinos expect to feel the benefits of those proposed tax relief and other measures to address the high cost of living today? Yun po.
Well, I think what is important is, first of all, for us to understand what is the economic context of those proposals, which will impact on, the government's revenue stream, di ba? Because right now, as I earlier said, if you look at the budget, it has two components. The first component of the budget is what we call the mandatory expenditures and the automatic appropriation. Yung mandatory expenditure, you have to spend for salaries and the overhead of running a country. Bayad sa tubig, bayad sa kuryente, sa ilaw, ganyan. And you cannot not spend for those, di ba? The other class of expenditures are what we call automatically appropriate, like debt service. Debt service is under EU 1177, enjoys preference over all expenditures. Yun ang unang-unang babayaran. Maski na hindi ka na kumain bukas, basta mauna pang babayaran yung utang kaysa yung kakainin mo bukas. Yan ang ibig sabihin yan eh. And then of course, yung share ng local government units, yung what they call the national tax allocation, yung dating era, di ba? That eats up a lot of the budget. And then BARM grants, that's 100 billion a year. So, kung aalisin mo yung automatically appropriated at saka yung mandatory expenditure, I think you're left with something like only 40% of the budget for what they call fiscal space. It is also called discretionary spending. So kung gustong ipakita nung presidente na ito yung aking priorities sa ating sa development priorities, ang pwede lang niyang galawin dyan yung 40% kasi hindi mo pwedeng galawin yung 60%. Nandiyan na yan eh. So, ang problema, these past 3 years, as much as 30 to 40% of that 40% was diverted by politicians during the Bicameral Conference Committee. So, konti na lang ang natira. Di ba? So, in that situation, kailangan mong pag-isipan kung saan mo ilalagay yung natira. Ano ba ang pinakamahalagang gastusin ang ilalagay mo dyan sa natitirang pera ng gobyerno para magamit sa susunod na taon. Dapat ang presidente sasabihin sa atin yan eh. Ito yung nangyari, ito na lang ang matitira eh. Kasi ang dami niyang nilistang paggagastusan eh. Pero kung susumahin mo yung magkano lahat yun, wala tayong ideya kung magkano lahat yun eh. Kakayanin ba nung natitirang discretionary fund ng budget? Hindi natin alam eh. Kasi hindi natin alam kung magkano ang ibig sabihin nun. Well, from the way, I don't know the magnitude of the expenditure that is required by all those plans eh. Yan ang, kaya yung mga tao, halimbawa, 5% ng ano yung systems loss, di ba? Hindi na raw kayo babayaran. Sa Meralco, 5% lang yun eh. Di ba? ang malaki dyan sa mga cooperatives kasi they are not very as efficient as Meralco in distributing power. So maraming pilferages dyan tsaka wastage. Pero pinag-aralan ba nila kung magkano kalaking pera yan na mawawala dyan sa mga co-ops? Kasi yung mga co-ops natin, heavily subsidized ng gobyerno. Yung mga yung mga electric cooperatives under the what is called the small power utility grids, you know. No, ang ibig ko sabihin, ang laki nung implikasyon sa gastos ng mga needs na niyang gastusin, pero hindi natin alam kung magkano nga aabutin noon because we have to remember na may hangganan yung pwede natin paggastusan eh. So kung ang natitira na lang sa discretionary fund is 40% of the budget, the past 3 years kinuha pa kung saan-saan nilagay flood control, ano na lang ang natira at anong pwede, saan mo ilalagay yung natira. So kung if the president exercises political leadership, he has to be upfront with our people. Ito na lang ang perang maaasahan nyo sa gobyerno. Ito yung mga kailangan natin gawin. So alin dito yung uunahin natin? Yes, because in choosing which expenditure to spend on, then you are stating to the public, these are our priorities. But you cannot have 1,000 priorities. You only have to have 3, 4, or 5 priorities. At galingan mo na kasi you have to cover the whole country. Eh no, we have no answer to that question. Eh. Kasi nga, hindi mo na nilatag kung ano yung sitwasyon ng ekonomiya, anong kakayanin ng ekonomiya. Ang problema, ang isang naging problema pa natin, dahil ang laki ng utang natin eh. Nasa halos na 19 trillion na eh, 18.6 trillion. Kung meron tayong revenues, dahil kailangan bayaran muna yung utang above all else, almost half of our revenues, 49%, is eaten up by paying for interest and returning capital. Halimbawa, this year, nag-umpisa si Recto, sabi niya, uutang tayo ng 2.7 trillion. Yung 1.6 will go to deficit. Kasi we don't have enough revenue. 1.1 trillion will go to payment of principal. So dun pa lang, umpisa na, 2.7 trillion ang gagastusin. So, what I'm saying is, kung SONA ito, siyempre, katulad sabi ni Mel, you have to tell the country what is the situation economically. Anong sitwasyon natin? Anong kaya nating gastusin? And then you proceed to say, dahil ito yung sitwasyon natin sa ekonomiya, dito ang priorities natin. Dito tayo gagastos. Marami tayong gustong paggastusan, pero hindi natin kaya. Ang isa pa naging problema, dahil malaki yung utang natin, mas mabilis lumaki yung utang kaysa sa ekonomiya, na downgrade yung credit rating natin yung outlook from stable to negative. Ang implikasyon nun, lalong-lalo na, ang implikasyon yun, tataas yung babayaran nating interest kasi we are a riskier country to lend money to. Di ba mga gano'n? There will be hesitation for people to invest in this country kasi the costs are high. You're not sure of making money in that country. So, lalong nagdadagdag ng pahirap yan. But the outlook means if you don't fix your revenue program, if you don't get your economy growing again, you will face a rating downgrade. Yung downgrade, yan yung kumbaga yung ating card sa school, yung report card. Yung credit rating, yung 87, 99, ganyan. Yung outlook, yung di ba naglalagay ng comment yung mga teacher na pag nag-absent ka na absent, babagsak ka. Pag hindi ka pumasok sa finals, babagsak ka. Parang gano'n. Ito ang sinasabi ng rating agency sa atin. Pag hindi nyo inaayos yung ekonomiya nyo, rating, yung magkakaroon kayo ng downgrade on your rating. Pag nangyari yun, dalawa lang ibig sabihin. Delikado ka magbayad ng utang. Pangalawa, mahirap maglagay ng pera sa inyo, baka hindi kumita. Yun ang malaking problem.
That's a big joke. You're excited.
Well, yeah, sa akin yun na nga At the end of the day, trust is most important if you're a political leader. But if you're not going to be upfront with those things, it diminishes your trust capital.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sec Butch. Any other questions from the floor? There are some questions here which were submitted previously, and I think it can be anybody here. If you were advising the president immediately after delivering the SONA, what one policy course correction or governance priority from the 1,000 priorities that were observed by Sec Butch would you recommend before the end of the administration, which apparently, as Sec Butch has said, it's not 23 months. You only have 11 months. Sige po, anyone can answer.
Sige, I'll go granular, no? The problem that we see is there are a lot of activities going on. But when people ask, anong puno-dulo ng activities? Puro PR eh. What was the outcome? So I'm referring to health. Say for instance, what will make people appreciate Yakap and allow different private and public health centers participate is to make it interoperable. Currently, if you know, if I'm a Filipino registered with Yakap, I have to go to the same center. Kasi doon ako eh. But I'm traveling. I went to, say, the south. So I got sick. I cannot go to another Yakap center. Yung interoperability is not existent. However, having interviewed some of their more wise leaders, that's in the pipeline. Problem is when. So the second part, if I were to advise a president is look for officials who are not complacent, that they must have a sense of urgency to produce something tangible. Kasi right now, it's all PR and talk eh. And if you are not a thinking person, you're going to be happy with that, right? But you shouldn't be happy with that because at the end of the day, ano yung balance scorecard na ipe-present mo? Parang shallow eh, no?
Sa akin, get a good communicator. Kasi KDK was for one of the, I think, even performative, sir. I mean, communicate what you are performing, di ba?
Yeah.
So I think dito yung it's yung getting across to the public kung ano yung gusto mo mangyari na doon pa lang may problema na, and that's a very fundamental sa military nga meron kaming kasabihan eh, if you cannot communicate, you cannot command. You're not commanding if you're not communicating, because it doesn't hindi nagkakama-cross doon sa constituents mo, subordinate mo kung ano gusto mangyari. In like manner dito, paano maintindihan ng public yung yung gusto mangyari? Yung SONA needs to be communicated. Medyo hindi na nga masyado statistic driven yung niya sir eh. Pero even then, this requires kagaya nung sa kuryente. Obviously, merong mga doon. Sa execution phase, may problema ka doon. So that means kasi magkakaroon ka ngayon ng may difference ngayon yung expectation ng tao eh. Expectation, tapos pag in-execute mo pala ganito lang. So how do you now account for that gap? So you need to communicate na hindi
Ako, I think it's so important for this, for our country and for this administration to restore the trust of the people in government, and also to restore the trust of the investing public in this country. Kasi naalala ko yun nung nasa gobyerno kami 2010. Nung 2010, the GDP grew at 7.3%. Pinatawag kami ni Pinoy, sabi niya, alam mo, hindi ako naniniwala dyan sa 7.3. Hindi nararamdaman sa babae. Maglinis tayo ng gobyerno. Let's clean up kasi maski na 7.3 hindi naman nararamdaman. Wala nang kwenta yun eh. So we did that eh. And in 2011, the GDP fell to 3.8% kasi tinigil namin lahat ng project eh. Tinawag nga kami ni Joker Arroyo na high school council kasi yung mga yan eh. Kaya hindi nila alam magtatakbo ng gobyerno. But it was a deliberate attempt to show na we are serious about, reforming the government. And after we did that, the following year, the economy grew by 7%. And then it continued growing. In fact, we averaged 6.3% for 6 years, which today stands as the best performing administration. Pag nawala kasi yung tiwala ng tao, hindi sila makikialam eh, hindi sila tutulong. In fact, ngayon, ang FDI natin, foreign direct investment, continues to fall eh. Eh kung if you don't have a strong revenue program, aasa ka sa PPP, FDI, tsaka ODA. But those people have to trust that if they give you money, may pupuntahan yung pera. Ang isang malaking problema din dun sa foreign assisted projects, ito yung mga North Luzon Commuter Railway, yung subway system, lahat yan, delayed yan by at least 4 years. Kasi this past 3 years, yung budget cover ng mga yan, totaling about 800 billion. 800 billion. Kasi yung inutang natin for subway, for infra, hindi mo pwedeng gastusin kaagad yun eh. You have to get Congress to authorize the expenditure. So kung wala yung authorization cover, hindi mo magagamit eh. Ang ginawa ng mga nasa Congress, kinuha nila yung authorization cover, ginamit sa iba, ginamit sa flood, ginamit sa mga highly local projects. Kaya hindi magamit yung pera for a year. And it went on. In fact, nagulat nga ako after all the issues raised, in 2026, about 67% of foreign assisted projects appropriation cover, kinuha na naman at ginamit sa ibang. Diba? So, lalo na ngayon, ano na tayo, middle income country, we will not get concessional loans as a middle income country. Binibigay lang yun sa low income country. So, mataas na yung interest sa babayaran natin. Tapos, hindi mo pa gagawin yung project. So, doble ang gastos mo eh. Ngayon, bakit tayo papautangin? Why will they come and put in their money if they're not sure about how we're going to use the money that they're either lending us or granting us? Kaya, if we cannot restore the trust, it's going to be a serious problem for not only for this administration, kasi nakikita ko, I don't think it will be able to concentrate on all list of projects because it will be worried about baka manalo si Sara, baka wala akong kandidato sa 2028, yung sinasabi ni email na malaking problema yon. So, it will focus on those two things eh. But about all of magiging problema. Kasi wala ka ng pera para gastos na yun eh. So, kaya nga, so who is providing political leadership to this country? Parang wala eh. Parang wala eh. It's a serious problem.
Thank you. We have to take a breather. We have to take a deep breath to deal with all of this. Any other questions from the floor? Online? I have another question that was given previously. Which commitments outlined in the SONA are realistically achievable? So we already highlighted the gaps, the missteps, the laundry list, but which of them can we actually be achieved within the administration's remaining term, but which may require continuity beyond 2028? And I think some of those were discussed, but I'd like to hear from you, maybe just highlighting a few of those priorities which are realistic. Napapabuntong hininga si Doc Ken. Tatawag na po akong doktor. Doc Ken.
From the health systems, you can go very optimistic. The problem is we're not a collaborative country. Our people in the country, we're not collaborative. Private health sector, public health sector, between the specialists. There's still, of course, still professionally we try to collaborate, but I see that more in not in substance, no. So earlier we were discussing a new policy where we could present, where we put together cardiac, renal, and metabolic conditions together. Because if you have one condition, chances are, statistically, you're going to have obesity, diabetes, and then later kidney. So why can't we create a policy and strategy to deal, if you have one person with that problem, have a package. Right now, it is not the way it is, no? If you are sick with the heart, you will go to a cardiologist. And then later you find out I have obesity, diabetes, I'll go to an endocrine. And then I'll go to another for GI for my liver, fatty liver. And then again and again, no? I mean, and then kidney disease. And if you look at it, we have a serious fragmentation of healthcare. I don't think this administration within the limited period that we have, no, 11, 18 months, impossible to solve that. This requires a better, an honest broker who can bring people together and say, what is our national interest? Because we have never identified and defined what is national interest. We want people to be healthy. If they are healthy, they are going to be productive citizens, contributing to economy, education, and many other things, right? But that has never been clear. Health is only an activity. Diba? It's something that we need to give as a basic service, but hanggang basic lang. Hanggang basic lang. And then, I'm surprised. 70%, I estimate, 70% of our healthcare delivery is delivered by the private sector. Private sector. And without the private sector, our healthcare system will collapse. There are no regulations in terms of guidance on fees. But there are some studies going on now, no? But it takes a generational period of time to understand how much money that you need, how much money should be given to you to keep you in the country to serve our countrymen. We have no data on that. Working condition, career pathing, the financial remuneration you want. We have never discussed that as a group. And I think we expected government to be the honest broker to bring people together, to have this meaningful, brutal conversation. We've never seen a health secretary bridge people together to fix that problem. That alone, I think, will take time. You have to be intelligent. You have to be brave. You can't have both of them at the same time. Unfortunately, no? And you have to have a sense of urgency. Tatlo, no? Intelligence, courage, and a sense of urgency. Anyway, we can only hope. I think we have to be optimistic. I mean, the question is, what can we do to help? That's that people are trying to shy away from helping, because of what the Admiral just said, no? 50+% are apathetic to be involved. They just don't know how. And therefore, government should open the doors to allow people to be inclusive. But, in town hall meetings, what I sense is they just only want to bring the people they love. that will be very diplomatic in their, careful in their statements, right? Okay. And therefore, we don't have a mirror to judge ourselves, no? Are we on the right path? Can we do course correction? What better ways can we do it? Diba? It's a trust issue, I think. They don't trust themselves, right?
There are two rules-based social programs that have proven successful in the past. Yung isa yung conditional cash transfer program, yung 4Ps, no? Yan dapat yung flagship poverty reduction program ng gobyerno eh. Hindi dapat natin nilalagay yung pera natin sa AIC, sa AKAP, kasi cash giveaways hindi naman, wala namang rules yun on who should receive, how much they should receive, where they should be. That's yung 4Ps. That's based on a national survey. So, you really have a profile of the families. Yung pangalan ng mga anak, and you know, it requires them 85% of the time, the children should be at school. Tapos they should go to the health center and we themselves get vaccination. So yun yung mga program na nandiyan na then i-disperse sa mga MAIP, yung AKAP, kasi kailangan mo yung program na yun. At yung mga tao naman doon, if you give them, for example, sustainable, tsaka make sure that their kids who graduate high school are employable, they're willing to leave the program after 5 years eh. Basta yung pangalawang rules-based program, yung universal healthcare, yung PhilHealth eh. You know, when we passed the excise tax reform law, ang collection natin sa tobacco excise was only like 35 billion a year eh. The year after no pumasa yung batas na yun, tinaasan natin yung excise tax. Naging 105 billion. You know, the last time I saw Sunny Dominguez, who was Secretary of Finance ni Duterte, sabi niya, Butch, salamat dun sa panahon ni Pinoy, pinasa niyo yung excise tax reform. Kasi ngayon, 220 billion na. Ang laki ng perang yun eh. In fact, ginawa pa nga nila nung panahon nila. Kasi di ba ang sharing ng excise tax 80% sa universal healthcare. That was 20% sa DOH. Ang ginawa nila noong 2019, yung 80 ginawang 60. Yung 20 nilagay sa ano yung project ni Bongo, yung Malasakit Center, yun. Dapat ibalik, sabi ko kay Risa, dapat i-revoke yung batas na yun, ibalik niyo yung pera sa universal healthcare. Kasi hindi na kailangan ni Bongo yan. Number 1 na siya sa Senado, number 1 pa siya sa Vice President. Pero, ganun kalaki yung nawala doon eh. But these are really proven program. In fact, nung time ni Pinoy, the 4Ps grew from a beneficiary base of 10 million to 6.4, 800,000 beneficiaries to 6.4 million families from a budget of 10 billion pesos, naging more than 43 billion. So, very effective siya. And we became the 4th biggest conditional cash transfer program investor sa mundo. So if we can just go back to those programs and put the money where they should be, instead of dispersing them to little things na wala namang impact na ganun kalaki, sayang yung pera. Nandiyan eh. Kailangan lang ayusin yung priorities ng gobyerno.
Join there lang. It dawned upon me that if we were to advise improvement in the health sector is to review all the rules of health regulations. It looks like we have chop suey health regulation eh. I mean, by itself, it's intended for good. You're protecting consumers, you're making sure the industry behave. But at the end of the day, parang walang tuhog. There are regulations on human beings like health professionals. There are regulations for facilities and services, regulation on financing, regulation on products, technology, laboratory, reagents, and medicine and vaccine. Walang tuhog. And therefore, the ease of doing business as complained by many of the chambers, grabe, grabe. And therefore, if something has to, and this is not directly health and clinical, but it is the support system at the back end that needs to be resolved. And I think that was, I think for ages na parang dineglect yung yung health regulation. There is no alignment, no review, no policy reforms, no improvements to integrate together, no? The health regulation is supposed to bring better outcomes, but it's regulatory compliance that many of the industry are afraid of. And because of that, they cannot move, right? They cannot move. There's no innovation, no technology. We will be so dependent on external support. Thank you.
And look at that mirror and reflect. Kasi out of the end of the day, it's about leadership, leadership, leadership. Kumaga, for the next 11 months, I will advise, sir, find it in yourself to actually lead. Kasi none of the programs we listed, we have a hyper presidency, we have to accept that Everything revolves around him Even the best of programs will not work unless he says, do this, do that, do that. Ganun tayo and we have to realize that. So ang the best is ano natin serve 11 months na lang. Nakapag-relax ka naman for the past. We only want you for this next 11 months kasi for the transition. Kasi para legacy mo na rin yan. The best legacy of your leadership is actually a successful transition to 2028. Yun lang. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much to our speakers. It was indeed a very thought-provoking, heart-wrenching, anxiety-filled discussion. But it was, we began this Kapihan with the intent of having an open, collegial, evidence-informed, and non-partisan discussion. And I think that is what we got. Our three speakers certainly laid down the harsh realities that should inform how governance should look like. So this afternoon's conversation reminds us that a State of the Nation address is more than, or should be more than PR, should be more than propaganda, should be more than a laundry list of priorities, and should be more than just an annual report of accomplishments, which it was lacking of. It is also an invitation to examine the choices that shape governance, to ask difficult questions, and to reflect on the kind of institutions that we are building for the future. We do not want institutions that are just providing us with stopgap measures. Across our discussion, three important themes emerged. First, governance must ultimately be measured not only by the policies that are announced, but by the institutions, and these institutions should be strong institutions that sustain them and the outcomes that they produce for the citizens. Announcements may set direction, but it is implementation, accountability, and institutional continuity that determine whether reforms endure. We must look at harsh and ugly realities of our economic situation, our health situation, the political and security environment, and even the conflicting interests of various stakeholders and parties. And we need to reassess our priorities and identify what is feasible and sustainable within the time frame that we have. Second, today's conversation highlighted that the priorities across the political governance, health governance, and security governance are deeply interconnected. Decisions in one sector inevitably influence the others, reminding us that addressing today's public challenges requires integrated, multidisciplinary, and collaborative approaches. Moreover, structural reforms over the long term are needed across the political and economic systems. Finally, our speakers reminded us that constructive public discourse remains indispensable in a healthy democracy. We must not let people be complacent. We must not tire of reaching out to those who are tired, to those who have no trust in themselves, and those who have no more trust in the government and in the country. Universities have an important responsibility, not merely to react to national developments, but to create spaces like this one today, where evidence, experience, and diverse perspectives can come together in thoughtful and respectful dialogue. As the administration enters the final, I will not say 23 months anymore, as Butch said, 11 months of its term or its operational runway. The challenge before all of us is not only to ask whether commitments have been fulfilled, but to also consider what reforms remain necessary, what opportunities still lie ahead, and how each of us can contribute to strengthening governance in our own spheres of influence. A very important overarching message that was mentioned by our speakers is that we need to restore the people's trust in the government, in the country. And we cannot do that with an unrealistic ayuda economy. We must empower people. We must capacitate people so that in the next SONA, we will not be looking at, again, another laundry list of 1,000 priorities, but long-term, sustainable plans that are based on a genuine assessment of the realities of the Philippines. On behalf of the Ateneo School of Government, I extend our sincere appreciation to Secretary Florencio Butch, Dr. Kenneth Hartigan-Go, and Rear Admiral Rommel Jude for their time and for generously sharing their expertise and insights with us this afternoon. We likewise thank everyone who joined us both here at the Pacific Ortiz Hall and online through Zoom. Your active participation enriched today's conversation and exemplified the spirit of a true kapihan. Pero baka hindi tayo masyadong maraming kape ngayon kasi medyo nakaka-nervous na yung estado ng Pilipinas, no? As we continue the Ateneo School of Government's 25th anniversary celebration, may today's discussion inspire us to remain engaged, discerning, and committed to advancing ethical and transformative governance in the service of the Filipino people. With that, thank you very much and good afternoon, everyone. Oh, yes. Please partake of our refreshments, our pastries, coffee, and wine. Yes, and we have some tokens of appreciation. So, Dean, so thank you, Doc Ken. Thank you, Admiral Ong. Thank you, Sec Butch.
Daya.
Hindi po yan PR.
By the way po ay mga students yung sa kanila doon. Kasi po,